KNUS Denver. Sleep deprived and heavily caffeinated.
All right, let's do this then.
This is the Jeff and Bill Show.
I don't agree with that.
They don't always agree, but hey, at least they have coffee.
Coffee.
And each other.
I love you, man.
God help us.
I want to bless him. We need all the help we can get.
Now here's Jeff Hunt and Bill Thorpe. The Jeff and Bill Show on News Talk 710 KNUS.
Well, it's 6 a.m. in the Mile High City on this Tuesday, July 15th, 2025. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned in to the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710, KNUS, proudly caffeinated this morning by Cato's Coffee. If you haven't heard of them, they're a brand new sponsor here of the Jeff and Bill Show, and it's coffee made by people who love their dogs. And when you purchase, a portion goes back to help animal welfare, so you get to support other dogs while drinking coffee created by people who love dogs.
And it's really
It's like a
good.
win-win. And today we got the Peruvian blend.
It's really good. That's really good. That's got a different type of finish off of it than the breakfast blend. That's what we did yesterday. And this one is, I don't know. It leans closer to the dark roast taste without being coming over the top, where the breakfast blends will come in a little bit smoother, something that doesn't necessarily announce itself as quickly on your tongue as you're drinking it. This Peruvian blend does have the brightness that you want inside of that coffee as the dark roast hits you pretty well, but it doesn't overpower. It doesn't come in and all of a sudden start taking over the room or taking over your taste buds. It's got a nice bold flavor across the top without being overwhelming. And the one thing that I'm loving about this a lot is that it doesn't finish acidic. Whatever they're doing is the brewing and the process, and especially the fact that we're getting the freeze-dried grounds. We're not talking about you grinding your own beans or nothing.
Yeah.
We're talking about getting the old Folgers can there, the freeze-dried stuff there on the shelf, and you open it up, and you got that seal there. That's what we're doing. We're rocking here with the freeze-dried stuff, and even that is superior. So I can't imagine what you do if you grind your own beans at home. But the thing for me is that it's the lack of acidity when it finishes off. This is a really clean, nice cup of coffee that I gotta be totally real here. That place you get where it's like milkshakes and they've got that mermaid thing. That's the logo. Yeah, that place. For me, I find that very acidic.
That's a mermaid?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's a mermaid. She used to be topless. Yeah, it comes from Moby Dick. Is where it comes from. Yeah, so that's the reference point. So it's basically their coffee to me is very acidic. I find the finish very sharp, especially on the outside of my tongue. I can feel it a lot, and in the back of my throat. And the only way to keep going, and maybe this is the purpose, is to keep drinking. This finish is clean and smooth, but still has that very forward taste. It doesn't overwhelm you like the heavy dark roasts, but this Peruvian blend is really nice. The breakfast blend is a nice way to start the day. This Peruvian blend, for me, that's a midday, mid-afternoon kind of a thing.
Yeah.
This is good. Yeah,
Tastes great.
Yeah, check them out.
Delicious flavor profiles, expertly roasted for a smooth, flavorful experience every time. If coffee's not your thing, try their delicious teas. You can also shop online for merchandise. Find something for your furry friend as well. Upgrade your morning ritual with Cato's Coffee. It's spelled KATOS, KOFFEE.com. KATOSKOFFEE.com. Find something to suit your taste today. If you use the code Jeff and Bill 10 at checkout, you'll get a 10% discount on your order. Jeff and Bill 10 at checkout for a 10% discount. KatosCoffee.com. All right, we've got a busy day today. Let's dive right in. Going to get into the Trump-NATO plan that emerged yesterday. What do you think of Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin? Was it right of Trump to try to thaw the relationship, the absolutely rock-hard, frozen relationship between Joe Biden and Putin, try to thaw it a little bit, and now pivot to allow NATO to buy weapons from the U.S. and deliver them to Ukraine? What do you think of this plan? We'll get into that in the 6 o'clock hour. 7 o'clock hour, Rory O'Neill's going to join us, NBC News national correspondent. Drones and how they're changing warfare We'll get into that with him. 8 o'clock hour, we'll be joined by the general manager of the local IHOP to preview some of their catering items. And then fascinating article in the Free Press that just pushed me into a little research hole yesterday on Denver public libraries. It's called The Death of the Public Library, and how they've essentially become homeless social services programs. They don't do what they're originally intended to do, which is to be a quiet place, to check out a book, and to study. And what I found in my research about funding for Denver public libraries is that they have a record per capita funding taking place right now. I mean, record, big time, over where they used to be, with only 50% of the attendance that they had 5 years ago or 10 years ago, and now 25% of the attendance that they had 20 years ago. So they've dropped off attendance 75%, yet have record funding. What is the money doing? What are they actually doing with these libraries? Who are they serving? And have libraries just changed, become this kind of free-for-all of a lot of public services for the homeless, not doing what they were originally intended to do, and as a result, attendance is down 75% of what it used to. So we'll get into all of this hour. Most importantly, though, we want to hear from you. Phone lines are open, 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line at 720-819-5115. Now it's time for News and Comment with Mr. Blake Olson.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, News and Comment.
Good morning. It's Tuesday, 61 and beautiful outside in Denver. Expecting a high of 93 today. This portion of the news sponsored by Pastor Camp Heating and Air Conditioning at 303-777-1234 to learn more about special savings opportunities on Lennox equipment. Our top story.
Well, I do think that there needs to be more transparency on this, and I think that will happen.
Laura Trump on Benny Johnson last night. Johnson posted this quote, "Just got off the phone with top federal law enforcement contact. The change in approach to Epstein has been dramatic. Expect more disclosures. Some very powerful people inside administration are now pushing for a special counsel and full press briefing on Epstein findings." Important to note, this drastic change happened after Charlie Kirk and a number of other powerful MAGA voices pushed back on the handling of the Epstein case this weekend and at the Turning Point Conference. They were met with massive roars and applause from the 7,000 gathered that could not be ignored. In short, our voices are being heard. Power to the people. Laura Trump.
He hears all the noise, and he hears all of the consternation out there, and I think he's going to want to set things right as well. So I believe that there will probably be more coming on this, and I believe anything that they are able to release that doesn't, damage any witnesses or anyone underage or anything like that, I believe they'll probably try to get out sooner rather than later because they hear it and they understand it. So hopefully we see that happen sooner than later. And I guess that would be my advice. But to everybody out there who's all worked up about it, there's no great plot to keep this information away that I'm aware of. I do just believe that maybe it's been slow rolled for reasons that hopefully we understand down the line, and I think we're probably going to get more transparency on it very soon.
The DOJ asking the Supreme Court to reject Ghislaine Maxwell's appeal defending her 20-year sentence for aiding Epstein's abuse of underage girls. Maxwell claims Epstein's 2007 non-prosecution agreement should have shielded her from prosecution as a co-conspirator, but the government argues otherwise. Terrorist Mohammed Solomon, accused of killing one person after his attack in Boulder that also injured more than a dozen, has a hearing today. It'll determine whether the state has enough evidence to move forward against the Hamas supporter. The National Weather Service says a landspout tornado hit Franktown Monday. It caused significant damage to at least one commercial building, causing a partial roof collapse and other related damages. The Douglas County Sheriff's Office says no injuries were reported.
This is a 5-lane road. You are looking at runoff from the Watchung Reserve. It's probably 3 to 4 feet.
Severe storms pounding the East Coast, flooding streets and subways, and disrupting travel for millions. Flash flood warnings hit parts of New York and New Jersey on Monday, prompting a state of emergency. Floodwaters rushed into New York City subway stations, causing major transit delays, more storms, and heavy rain expected again today. Meanwhile, in Texas, rain hampering recovery efforts in the flood-ravaged Texas Hill Country. Search and rescue efforts were put on hold Monday after a storm system brought more dangerous conditions to central Texas, where over 160 people are still missing after the floods claimed some 130 lives. DJT wants Russia to hurry up and reach a peace deal with Ukraine. While meeting with the NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte at the White House on Monday, Trump said that he'll place severe tariffs on Russia if no deals are made in 50 days. The Supreme Court is allowing the 47 administration to resume layoffs at the Department of Education. The court ruled 6-3 to lift a judge's order that reinstated employees let go in mass layoffs. 58 in Parker, 59 in Broomfield, 61 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue.
Good morning. I love this enthusiasm. I hope I'm as excited as you are about launching this show. This is amazing.
Tendons, I can see my tendons down there as they move. And the doctor is fascinated that I only slit the skin.
Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Your KNUS forecast for the Denver metro area keeps temperatures hot and above average today, low to mid-90s. Canadian cold front, though, arrives overnight. Wednesday and Thursday's highs stay in the mid and upper 80s. Few hit-and-miss storms today, scattered heavy showers and strong thunderstorms on Wednesday and potentially Thursday, trending hotter and mostly dry Friday and this weekend. Weather is a service of L&L Heating and Air Conditioning. For quick, trustworthy, and dependable service, call L&L Heating and Air Conditioning at 720-851-1691. Visit them online at bestdenverhvac.com. That's bestdenverhvac.com. You'll be comfortable with L&L. I'm meteorologist Mark Huer in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
All right, three big decisions coming from the Trump administration with regards to Ukraine. Number one, this happened a few weeks ago, that they're going to unfreeze some of the weapons that were going to be sent to Ukraine. Okay, that was actually last Monday. Trump would lift a pause on U.S. deliveries on air defense missiles and other weapons to Ukraine. So that's number one. Number two has to do with the purchase of American weapons by NATO that will end up in Ukrainian hands. That happened yesterday, along with number 3, the potential for 100% tariffs on anything coming from Russia if Russia doesn't end the war within the next 50 days. Trump calling them very severe tariffs. This marks quite a bit of a change. I've spent time talking with folks that are supportive of American action down in Ukraine, and they were highly critical of Donald Trump and the Zelensky meeting that took place, and then Trump having phone calls and talking directly with Putin. And it seems at this point, Donald Trump's more or less offering that side of the policy debate everything that they'd want. Direct weapons heading to Ukraine, the sale of additional weapons to NATO, strong tariffs, no mess around, 100% tariffs on what's coming from Russia. So my question to you, Bill, and to our listeners is this what you wanted to see from Donald Trump with regards to Ukraine all along? Is this a position that you support? Is this a change that you're happy to see? Are you still critical of Trump trying to thaw the relationship with Russia? Was it kind of a he didn't know what he was getting into type of thing with Vladimir Putin? And or is it, look, things have changed on the ground. Trump's had enough of dealing with Putin, and you're happy to see this type of strong approach against Russia. Mr. Thorpe, I'll give it to you.
Well, my number one curiosity at this point is what happened to the phone call that Donald Trump promised could settle this war in 24 hours. In fact, he was making promises that he thought if he was elected, it would be settled before inauguration because Putin likes him so darn much. And he said this could be settled. He said Joe Biden is an idiot and the Biden administration are morons because this could be easily settled with one single phone call by President Donald Trump.
So do you think he underestimated Putin?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, we outlined that before the election. 110%. Had no idea what he was doing. Yeah.
Idea. You think it was no idea that he was doing, or do you think it was a tactic, an approach to try to solve a problem that just ran out of steam and now he's pivoting?
No, the tactic and approach was to win an election. He was promising the American voters something that could not be accomplished. I outlined that repeatedly on this show, over and over and over again, between 6 and 10, Monday through Friday, here on 710 KNUS, that the idea of settling this with one phone call, yeah, right. Sell me a bridge in Brooklyn. Yeah, right, as if that's going to happen. I pointed out prior to the election, this is a pipe dream, but he sold it to you. And how many people called up here and said that I didn't know what I was talking about, that I didn't know Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin, Donald Trump's the tough guy. Vladimir Putin's going to back down. How many times did we hear that Putin wouldn't have even invaded? He wouldn't have dared invade Ukraine. If Donald Trump had only been in power, he would have scared him because he's such a big, strong man.
You think he would have still invaded Ukraine?
Yeah. But where is it now? I mean, again, where is it now?
What's your evidence of that? Because he didn't. He waited till Joe Biden was president.
What he waited for was when the relationship of NATO he felt was at its weakest. Also, it takes time and planning in order to invade. And he moved people and was making machinations about wanting that prior to. But understand that Donald Trump recently, and I don't remember where the source was, had talked about the idea that he thinks that maybe Putin wants all of Ukraine. Shock. Oh, my God. Notice my shocked face. It's exactly what I said before the election. Exactly what I said he was looking for. This is all international. And again, I am not putting myself in this. I just listen to the people that I believe are smarter than me on international relationships and dealing with Russia. And they all said Putin is playing Trump. He's lying to him. Trump doesn't understand this relationship at all. Putin has no interest in settling this, and all he's going to do is string along Trump. And that's exactly what happened. It's exactly what we outlined before the election. And
so
Donald Trump
do you
sold
think
the American people.
Understood that? Here's an interesting article from Fox that Trump reveals Melania's key role in dealing with Putin First Lady points out Russian attacks that followed diplomatic calls between Trump and Putin. President Trump on Monday suggested that First Lady Melania Trump convinced him that Russian President Vladimir Putin has continually backed out of his promises over a possible peace deal with Ukraine. Trump was meeting with NATO secretary when he spoke with reporters about the ongoing war. He explained that his wife pointed out Putin's false promises following Trump's phone calls with the Russian leader amid calls for a deal to end the conflict. I go home. I tell the First Lady, I spoke with Vladimir today. We had a wonderful conversation. She said, oh, really? Another city was just hit, he said. There's times I'd get home, I'd say, First Lady, I had the most wonderful talk with Vladimir. I think we're finished. And then I'll turn on the television, or she'll say to me one time, wow, that's strange because he just bombed a nursing home. Trump recalled in another conversation. I'd say, what? Moscow has repeatedly attacked Ukraine with drones and missiles following calls between Putin and Trump. Last week, Trump appeared frustrated, saying he wasn't happy with Putin because he's killing a lot of people. What's your take on Melania there?
That she's right. And the story doesn't necessarily portray Trump in the best light at all, because what we have in the narrative of that story is that the First Lady is able to connect the dots that the president misses. That somehow the president is unaware of these promises that Putin gives him, and then he goes back on them. And then he promises peace, and then he goes back on them. That it takes the First Lady to point out to him that, hey, maybe if you keep putting your hand on that stove, it's hot. And that's why you keep getting burned. Maybe you don't go back and touch the stove again.
Do you think it's that, or do you think it's the fact that she's from Slovenia?
I think it's part of it is Slovenia, but the other part is that she's paying attention. Donald Trump, I believe Donald Trump felt that he had this great relationship with Putin, and they were best buds, and Putin would do stuff for Donald Trump that he wouldn't for anybody else. And I believe he bought into all the BS that Putin had been feeding him. And despite even people in the intelligence community around him telling him, President Trump, he's feeding you a line of crap, and he's not following through on all these things, and he's not doing X or Y or Z. And finally, the weird thing is Donald Trump is back to, let's see, there was a guy. Oh, yeah, Joe Biden's policies. That's it. He's back to Biden's policies. The idea of...
Do you think that's right?
Yes.
Biden's policies was not arms. Talking at all.
He's sending arms. Russia. He's sending arms. He's put down a deadline. He's working with NATO. He's increasing funding. Yeah, he's gone. He's a hell of a lot closer to Biden's policies than he is to Trump's policies. Hell of a lot closer. And the Biden administration did have the ability to talk to Russia, but the Biden administration had come to the conclusion that Russia doesn't want to end the war. Trump hasn't gotten there yet. He's getting closer, getting very, very close to the idea that Putin really does want all of Ukraine. And unless you do something to punish him, there's nothing that's going to stop him. In fact, I saw the, who was it? One of the Russian intelligence ministers yesterday celebrating the 50-day window for tariffs. Because you know what they said? We got 50 days to win this thing. Donald Trump has just given us a 50-day calendar to win this thing. We now need to go harder than ever. That's what the Russian intelligence ministers were saying yesterday. That now this is our opening to crush the Ukrainians. That we have a window. Donald Trump has given us an opportunity.
I see it differently because how long was Joe Biden fighting this war with Russia?
No, he was in power. He was president for 4 years.
Right.
I think that's applicable.
Was that when the invasion took place in Biden's first year?
I believe so, but yeah.
Okay, so let's say 3 years.
Okay.
3 years of generally a pretty stale or stalemate like engagement. Right?
I'm not sure I would say that.
Back and forth. We're over 100 miles. But an aggressive battle, maybe stale wasn't the right word. Stalemate, I think, was probably the right word, which is that for 3 years, it generally stood as where it was in the first few weeks of the war. Is that right?
No, not necessarily. There were other territories because Russia came in, took some towns, lost some. Again, I haven't gone through the history. I don't have a timeline. But
Yeah.
no, they gave things back and forth. But no, I would disagree with the idea that where we are now is where we were after the first few weeks of the war. I would disagree with that because Russia came in pretty hot and hard as far as the territories they have, and they don't have some of those territories.
They were able to repel it,
and they have some territories, they don't have others. Yeah.
The point I want to bring up, though, is that under Joe Biden, I don't think he had any real vision on ending this thing. It just kind of hummed along with millions of dollars being spent in what I would call a stalemate. I appreciated the fact that Donald Trump came in and tried a different tactic. I don't fault him for that. Joe Biden had no direct conversations with Putin. Now, you can say that Donald Trump didn't fully understand Vladimir Putin's deception with regards to phone calls and then the war and how much he wants Ukraine, all that stuff. And Slovenia, by the way, is just on the other side of Hungary. So you have Slovenia, Hungary, then Ukraine, and that's where the First Lady's from. So if she's had this kind of experience with Russia before and Vladimir Putin, yeah, she has a different perspective, and it might be a better perspective. But I don't fault Donald Trump for wanting to try to bring this war to an end via negotiations. I'm glad he did it. And I also think that when you get on the wrong side of Donald Trump, like Vladimir Putin seems to want to be at this point, you're more likely to see a more aggressive military response than you ever would have seen under Joe Biden.
That's interesting. That's really interesting. One, I would say that when we go back to the beginning, when you're talking about Ukraine's ability to fight Russia, part of that was constrained on what we were and were not willing to give them. Remember, there were a whole bunch of Republicans running around and screaming that we can't possibly give Ukraine another dollar. That hurt their ability to prosecute the war. If we would have just given them the blank check, I submit this war would look very, very, very different. There are times in which Ukraine has been screaming for more air defense, begging for more defensive missiles, begging for ammo and guns. If they had the supplies they needed, I believe that this could be a different situation. The other part, though, that I disagree with is the idea of somewhat of a negotiation, that this was, I'm glad he tried it. Everybody who is in the know had been saying since before the election, Putin doesn't want to end this. At this point, he has no reason to end this. There is no push for him to end this at all. And so Donald Trump made a couple of phone calls and nothing. So this was entirely predictable. He didn't do anything to change where Putin was at that time. Putin had no interest in ending it prior to the election, and there was nothing that changed post-election, other than he knew he could talk to Donald Trump, string this along a little bit more, and try to grab as much territory or degrade Ukraine as much as he possibly can, because who knows, maybe if he just takes a peace right now and says, okay, I'll take a ceasefire and a peace, he can regroup, re-strategize, and just break that negotiation, that agreement later on, and take the rest of the country. It gives him a breathing room in order to re-up. Just like when, again, the Russian intelligence yesterday services said, wow, this is great. Donald Trump has just given us 50 days to try to end this thing. This is wonderful. This is an opportunity. We need to go harder now.
Text messages coming in 6135. At least we got a president that's trying and wants peace.
I understand that. Okay, based on that statement, I'm assuming you're saying that Joe Biden didn't want peace, that Joe Biden didn't want to end the war. If that seems like the assumption. And really? That's the one that, okay, I have a hard time. I would love to have you call 303-696-1971 and defend that. Is that the position from the texter, that Joe Biden was actively trying to promote the war? Is that the position? That's the thing, is the idea that at least he wants peace. And again, does Donald Trump necessarily want peace? Is he really working towards it? Based on the phone calls and tariffs? Is this the direction that you would think someone was going based on peace? Someone that had suspended,
Yeah,
someone that had suspended. Again, we can talk about whether or not Hegseth had told Donald Trump or not, but they had suspended arms in support to Ukraine. Is that going for peace? When you're trying to degrade one side, the side that you're supporting, your ally, you're degrading their ability to defend themselves? Yeah, really? That's peace? Okay,
Joan from Lakewood.
Convince me of that one, my friend.
Joan of Lakewood writing, Biden gave money and weapons. Trump is at least selling weapons. At least we're getting something for our support.
Yeah, I don't understand the issue there. I don't understand.
Giving versus selling?
No, I don't understand the issue because the idea of, okay, so we would just want Ukraine to spend their money to, why wouldn't we, again?
In this case, NATO.
That's different. We're talking about Ukraine. I mean, it's Joe Biden, okay, talking about NATO and having them invest larger into the Ukraine war, invest larger into their defense, for me is a separate issue than our support for Ukraine. The support for Ukraine was that we were giving money and arms and things, and that's what the Republicans screamed about, that it was horrible. We shouldn't be doing this. We had members of Congress pushing hard resolutions to end that.
Part of it was the money going out.
Yeah, I know. And that's just, I mean, again, silly because we talked about it. Yeah, the money was mostly being spent, over 60% was being spent on American contractors and American people that were either there or providing support services outside. And the equipment was taking the backlog and the older stock out of our own warehouses. And then we turned around and got a whole bunch of new contracts for American companies to make the new stuff. So this actually increased economic investment inside the U.S. This was a jobs program. That's why they gave them the old stuff. That was the system behind it. It wasn't just like, hey, look at these new things we have. They're like, no, we got to clean this stuff out. We give it to Ukraine. Ukraine gets to use it, and we go buy the new stuff. And all the American defense contractors get paid fat. It's basically what it was.
Text message, Bill, Trump tried peace, but can't let Ukraine go down.
Sure. Is that what we're believing at this point?
I mean, wait, you don't think he tried peace?
No, the idea that he can't let Ukraine go down. Is that really where we are in this? Because we believe
that's
really
why he just sold a whole bunch
is that
of
why when Zelensky
is
that why he berated Zelensky when he was in the Oval Office because he was trying to support our ally? He didn't want Ukraine to go down. How did he treat Zelensky? When he came into office, how did he treat Ukraine? Who was he more cozy with? Whose side did he basically shore up? He shored up Putin's side, not Ukraine's side when he started off in this thing. Oh, absolutely he did.
Shore up
absolutely
Putin's
he did.
Side. You can
absolutely
I think you can easily say that Trump was critical of Zelensky and Ukraine, but to say he shored up Putin's side.
Yes, he did. He gave all the space for Putin and having to understand what Putin wanted. And remember, Hegseth came out there and basically
sold a bunch of defensive Patriot missiles to Ukraine.
I know, sold them, didn't give them. That's great. That's a way to support the ally. That's good job there. Good job. Nice job. Nice.
I don't see the problem at all with that.
I know.
What is the problem with another country buying weapons from us as opposed to us giving them weapons?
Yeah, I know.
With $37 trillion in debt.
Could have given them the weapons too, though. But I'm just saying, it's nice that it's a transactional relationship in this situation.
Right. What's wrong with that?
It's okay. Good. That's
Israel
fine.
buys weapons from us.
Yes. Yeah, but not necessarily while they're being invaded. But still.
No, exactly when they're being invaded.
No. They've done that. No, it's different. It's not the same thing at this point. They're not being invaded. Israel's not being invaded. When they bought the weapons, it's not the same thing. This is a thing in which they need them, and instead of giving them to them, we go ahead and we have them pay for it.
We sold
Fine.
them to NATO, and if NATO wants to give them, at least NATO bought them.
NATO's not involved in a conflict. It's different. That's different, and that's fine. That's fine. We want to go ahead
NATO's not involved in the conflict?
No,
and we just
in a direct conflict. What I'm talking about is Ukraine is involved in a direct conflict with one of our adversaries. If you want to go ahead and sell them the Patriot missiles, go right ahead. Fine. I'm not going to sit here and make this a big bone of contention, but you could just give them to them. You could, and it would make it easier for Ukraine to defend themselves.
We did it for 3 years, and it resulted in a stalemate. And the fact that Donald Trump tried to directly call
and selling them is going to change that. But selling them is going to change that stalemate that you're complaining about. Selling it is somehow going to change it?
At this point,
how is selling them arms going to change that dynamic?
Because Donald Trump and Joe Biden are different people when it involves international conflict.
Yes,
when
vastly different.
Donald Trump leads first with peace. but he's not afraid to use the sword in a way that Joe Biden rarely ever wanted to use the sword. He's constantly telling Israel, for instance, roll back, don't engage. Now that Donald Trump's in office, Israel's directly hitting Iran. So Donald Trump leads with peace, but is not afraid to use the sword. Joe Biden is happy to just give our weapons away, has no plan to solve anything, and then when we have to engage in conflict, he oftentimes backs up. No, don't do it. Don't do it.
I disagree. Because, Donald Trump backed away from the conflict in Ukraine, said it was mostly worthless. You look at the idea that part of the reason that we got into the conflict with Iran was because he pulled us out of the original deal because he didn't like Barack Obama cutting it and getting credit for it. He pulled it out and then tried to replicate the same deal later on and then got mad that Iran didn't want to come and negotiate with him. So that's part of it. Iran would not have had the ability to enrich as much uranium as they had over the previous years if Donald Trump had stuck with that deal.
Oh, that's not true.
Yes, it is.
That's not true. No,
yes,
it
it
has
is.
to
It's
do
110%
with
true.
the amount and the quality of the enrichment. Under the Obama,
we would have been able.
Under the
there
Obama
were constraints,
deal,
and there were
he
able
was
to check.
able to enrich as much as he wanted, as much as they wanted to, right up against the line. And there was a sunset clause on missile creation, all that stuff. It was a bad deal. All right, we're happy.
Better than no deal.
To have, well, it's
better than no deal.
It's better that Iran doesn't have any nukes.
Well, the idea is you're saying, they restricted their ability to enrich uranium all the way up to a point, and our solution was let them enrich all the uranium because we can't check it all. Better?
No,
not
that's
better.
not at all what I'm saying.
Yes, he pulled out of the deal.
He
not
pulled out
better.
because it was a bad
not
deal.
Better. Not better.
And it allowed Iran to get a lot of money, by the way. All right, we've got phone
a lot
calls.
of uranium enrichment.
303-696-1971. Join the conversation or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line 720-819-5115. I'll go back to the original question. Donald Trump changing what seems to be his position right now on Ukraine. Do you support it? Do you appreciate what Donald Trump was originally trying to do and bring about peace by directly calling Vladimir Putin? If you remember, Joe Biden wouldn't even pick up the phone. Hadn't talked to anyone in Russia in years. And now that he's pivoted, do you appreciate the fact he's being stronger on Russia? Or was this something that Donald Trump should have known all along and was naive in his efforts to outreach to Vladimir Putin? We'd love to hear from you. Phone calls or phone lines are open, 303-696-1971. Text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line at 720-819-5115. All right, let's talk advanced hair restoration. Everyone always asks, what makes advanced hair restoration different? Allow me to share, and along with some details on, get this, their once-a-year summer savings event. First off, Advanced Hair stands by the results. Their before and afters are second to none. With Advanced Hair, your own natural hair is guaranteed to grow. Secondly, Advanced Hair combines top-rated physicians with modern technology, creating a concierge quality experience that's hard to find elsewhere. And lastly, Advanced Hair's Advanced FUE begins regrowing your own natural hair the very next day. It's quick, it's simple, and it's easy. Now, if you have a flexible schedule this summer and you've been waiting for that special savings opportunity, well, it's here. Advanced Hair's Summer Savings Event will get you the most hair for your dollar. It's their best offer ever. For details and to schedule your free consultation, give them a call at 720-459-HAIR. 720-459-HAIR. One-day treatment, life-changing results. Your new hair guaranteed to grow. Before and afters at advancedhair.com. 720-459-HAIR. Advancedhair.com. Will continue. Phone lines and text messages hot. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Well, the text messages are exactly as you would imagine on both sides of this issue, from Bill, you rock, to Bill, you don't know what you're talking about.
And you're leaving out the ones that use curse words at me, which again happens on the daily. And there's one specific person.
Trump is now and has always been Putin's sock puppet. I don't know how you could be Putin's sock puppet and then willingly sell missiles to defend Putin's attacks. Putin is tough and sneaky and sinister. Trump is just sinister. Like I said, I don't think you can be Putin's sock puppet and then sell missiles to defend what Putin's attacking.
I don't know, but the sale might be the important word there in that argument. If I was going to defend the idea of Trump being Putin's sock puppet, the idea of saying, well, instead of going ahead and gifting him the missiles, he's at least degrading their treasury while giving up the appearance of wanting to have
NATO's?
them. Ukraine's, because if he's selling Ukraine
sold to NATO.
Oh, well then, okay, fine. Then it's irrelevant. That's irrelevant.
No, I think that's totally relevant.
No, it's completely irrelevant.
Because if NATO is going to give them, and I'm not sure if they're giving them or selling them to Ukraine, but I know he's not selling them to Ukraine, he's selling them to NATO.
Okay. See,
it seems like a totally different...
See, I thought you said during the last break that he was selling them to Ukraine. That's totally different. That will be degrading the treasure. That's what I thought you had said last time. Because I knew he was selling weapons to NATO, but I thought you also said that he was selling weapons to Ukraine. And that's where I was going off the premise last segment, was that I thought you said that one. So I misunderstood, and I apologize on that one. But again, I don't think that him selling the weapons to NATO is necessarily applicable to what's going on inside of Russia and Ukraine and our support of Ukraine. I think that is the issue of, well, look at how we have been behaving inside of Ukraine, and look at how we've been behaving with NATO, and we're trying to get them to invest more in defense. And that is a positive that Donald Trump has been able to get out of Ukraine with this one, for them to invest more in the defense. But he's not the only reason that NATO has come back together and deciding to invest in defense. The Biden administration gets some credit on that as well. I wouldn't give them the lion's share of credit, but they have some of the credit as well as far as putting the relationships back together.
Question to you.
Yeah.
When and if, let me start with if first more than when. If this thing goes totally south, to the point of,
can you define this thing? What this thing?
The Russian-Ukraine conflict.
Okay.
If that thing goes totally south, and you result in direct U.S. engagement, who do you think would be better via the presidency to manage that? Donald Trump or Joe Biden?
Depends on the cabinet. And that's it, because the president, I don't want the president managing the war. I want the president to be delegating it to the people that do the war fighting. And I want them to manage the war. And if I had to look at who wanted to manage a war, I would have a bit more trust in the cabinet that Biden put together than the Trump cabinet, in part because who we have is SecDef. There's a command and control issue that I have with who's he's placed in certain areas that I'm not certain that you're always going to be listening to the people that have done the hard work inside of the room. And that's what I would worry about. But let's just talk about this. What does it say? What would it say if this thing goes sideways under Trump, who promised peace based on a single phone call and a good relationship with Putin, and he's now the president that might have to make the choice to put American boots on the ground, or get American fighter jets involved, or get American soldiers involved.
What
does
think
that say?
It goes back to what I said originally: is that Trump leads with peace, but is not afraid to use the sword. And as I've seen in other conflicts, whether places like the Middle East or China, or we're obviously not fighting a war with China, but we're engaging with them via diplomacy. What I've seen from the Trump administration is a far greater ability to want to actually win something and unleash the power to win something than I saw with Joe Biden, which is this constant dance around, gosh, I sure hope we don't offend somebody else's feelings, especially in the Middle East, Whereas with Trump, you've just allowed Israel to take out its enemies at a level that you never saw under the Biden administration. So if it came down to direct engagement, I absolutely would support Trump being in that position much more than I would Joe Biden. All right.
Yeah. It's strange how we've gone 180 degrees away from Trump is so strong and scary that nobody would dare do a war. Now to the fact that, well, Trump's the best one to do the war. It's weird how we've gotten there.
No, I don't see him as anywhere different. I'll keep going back to what I originally said. Trump leads with peace, but is not afraid to use the sword. Whereas with Biden, who the hell know what you got? You just got this kind of patchwork of international engagement that had no real vision, no real victory at the end of it. So we got to get to You Choose the News. Appreciate everybody's text messages on this. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader News Talk 710 KNUS.
Well, it's been a hot, spicy morning, and it's always fun to take some time to do a little bit of levity to bring us back to the center with You Choose the News.
Yes, it is that time of the morning where we get to play America's favorite fake radio news game show. It's time for You Choose the News. You know how this works. I scour the interwebs for moments this morning to find really dumb stories about us humans, giving them more ridiculous headlines so that we can play this fake radio news game show. Why would we do this? Because those in charge do not wake up until 7 o'clock, so we are going to take full advantage of being left unsupervised. And as always, this is a giant secret. Don't tell anybody, or we're going to get in trouble. Well, maybe that'll encourage you, but okay, anyway. All right, now, Blake Olson joining us from the news department, Jeff Hunt in the studio. Here are your choices, gentlemen. Headline number 1, just like the TikTok. Headline number 2, Marie Antoinette approved. Headline number 3, hide and get away. And headline number 4, what will the neighbors think? Mr. Hunt, your choice.
Let's start with hide and get away.
Yeah, hide and get away. We find ourselves in France for this one. Prison officials in France had to rearrest a criminal after he escaped the prison by hiding in the laundry bag belonging to his cellmate. His cellmate was being released after finishing his sentence, and he said, "Hey, can I go with you?" The guy said, "Jump in." He took advantage of the loose protocols on the release and did escape from the prison near Lyon. He did only enjoy a couple of days' worth of freedom before he was arrested in Sathony-Camp, a city on the outskirts of Lyon. The prison officials say this is an extremely rare event. We've never seen this before. We don't know, and maybe we'll start checking the laundry. So, yeah. He hid in the laundry bag.
Did he have to push him out in a cart? Because
I don't know.
I can't imagine putting a 150-pound person over my
who knows?
shoulder.
I don't know. Maybe he lost a lot of weight. I don't know. I mean, who knows? But yeah, he got out in his laundry bag. Yeah, just hid. And they didn't check the laundry bag before he left either, which is an odd protocol. What do you have in the bag? Just trust me. Already, sir. Keep going. Sure. Why not? Okay, Blake, sir. Just like the TikToks, Marie Antoinette approves, or what will the neighbors think?
What will the neighbors think?
Yeah, what will the neighbors think? People across the United Kingdom are dealing with a huge heat wave. Now, this is unusual because not a lot of the houses there have indoor swamp coolers or air conditioning.
No,
so they are
they don't.
suffering through this heat wave. But here comes Dr. Ben Roberts at Loughborough University to give them a way to cool the house during the day, as long as you're okay with the neighbors talking about you. What you got to do is go outside and apply yogurt to your windows.
Really?
Yeah, it sounds weird, but he has found through studies that applying yogurt to your windows can decrease the temperature inside of your house up to 7 degrees Fahrenheit or 3.5 degrees Celsius. He did a month-long experiment between 2 houses, and he said one of them he tested this, the temperatures on the inside, on the outside. They rubbed yogurt on the glass and then tested it there. He said, oddly enough, the yogurt doesn't leave any sort of a smell and disappears after a couple of minutes. So your neighbor's only going to talk about you and take pictures for a couple of minutes, and then you're okay.
It doesn't smell like moldy cheese?
No, said it, because of the sun and everything else, said the smell of the yogurt disappears after about 30 seconds to a couple minutes and forms a thin film on the window that reflects some of the sunlight.
Use blueberry. That's probably
much
the
better.
best.
Yes. Or actually, you should use that strawberry banana because that flavor sucks.
Yeah,
That's awful. That is the worst flavor. That's the worst flavor of yogurt.
Yes.
Awful. Strawberry banana is awful.
It's
just no flavor?
Ugh. Oh, that's even worse, but still, that's at least you can add stuff to it.
No,
there's nothing you can do to save the strawberry banana.
Strawberry banana's great.
Strawberry
Bill and I, you and I would debate the color of the
It's
sky.
the worst flavor of yogurt. Okay, Jeff.
No
Hunt,
flavor tastes like vanilla.
Just like the TikToks, or Marie Antoinette approves.
TikToks.
Just like the TikToks, a group of chimpanzees in Zambia are now falling under the influencers, just like on TikToks. This happened 15 years ago. A female chimpanzee recently stuck a blade of grass over one of her ears. It became a fashion trend. Now there's a new fashion trend. They're doing the blade of grass in the ear thing, but also putting the blades of grass in their butts. And they're walking around with the butt grass. Yes. And it seems to have caught on in just a couple of weeks in one specific group of chimpanzees. Yes, just like the TikToks, chimps will do dumb stuff by watching other people do it. Back to you, sir. That's the end of it.
Great way to end that hour. You're listening to Jeff and Bill.
KNUS.